Jesus Christ. Be on guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and the yeast of Herod. This is Jesus' warning to his disciples. How do we understand this message and what is its relevance to our lives? First, we need to know who the Pharisees and Herod were. Both were influential people in their society. The Pharisees held significant power in the religious sphere, while Herod wielded political power. So one is powerful in religion, institution, while the other in political arena. Second, they spread a kind of yeast or teachings that harm society, such as dishonesty, arrogance, and a desire for honor. These influences have serious negative consequences for believers. For example, they can cause people to doubt their faith and become confused. We know that in the political arena there are so many intrigues, manipulations, and so forth. And usually, if people are not really strong in their faith and they got involved in the political arena, they'll get confused. There are so many people who get challenged when, as believers, they take part in a political arena on political planes. So the worldly yeast Jesus warned about has evolved into various streams of thought, mentalities, and cultures that oppose faith in God. Many people no longer trust institutions that speak about God, like religions, church, and so forth. Considering religions and talking about God are outdated. No interest at all. Jesus taught his disciples to hold on to his teachings. The yeast of the kingdom of heaven, which shapes and forms the world according to God's will, not man or human will, like political arena. Jesus once said that the kingdom of heaven is like yeast, small, invisible, but works powerfully to change and to lead the world into salvation. However, the disciples misunderstood Jesus' message. They had eyes, but they didn't see. They had ears, but did not hear. In other words, they were not listening to Jesus' words. And many times we also did the same thing. We misunderstood what Jesus taught and told us. Therefore, Jesus again emphasized the sign of the kingdom of heaven and the miracle of the loaves. The miracles that he did shows the sign of the kingdom of heaven. So he invited them to trust his teachings rather than those of the Pharisees and Herod. Why? Again, it is because their teachings lead to destructions, not salvation. Of course, my dear sisters and brothers, in our lives in this world, we need politics. But we know also that in some instances, in some cases, political powers and games sometimes bring this world into confusion and even destruction. So we need to be careful even though we need politics, we need also to be careful of something behind it. The Pharisees and Herod held important position in religion and politics, but they did not bring positive and constructive influence like what I mentioned before. Instead, they did the opposite. Sometimes they try to draw people away from God. So similarly, some people trust themselves more than God. Their influence may be stronger than our faith. Right now, there are so many young generations do not believe anymore in God, in religions. And even they formally declare, I'm atheist. And they believe on themselves. They don't need God. And this grows very strong among young generations. And this is a real challenge for us. Many parents are worried about this. Their children do not practice religion anymore. Their children do not believe in God, and so forth. They got infected by the yeast of the world, which bring them away from God. That's why, my dear sisters and brothers, we need to be aware of worldly yeast. Let's hold fast to Jesus' teachings and trust in His power. Jesus already showed to us His power, how to save the world, not only by making or doing a lot of miracles, but by dying on the cross to save us. And today, this morning here, we celebrate the memory of His death, which is the sacrament of the Eucharist. So let us join Jesus in these Eucharistic celebrations so that we be strength, we be encouraged to continue believing in Jesus.